All right, boys and girls, it's time to start reading again. Appleblossom the Possum. We're ready for chapter 4, page 19. They're nomads, or as Mama Possum explains, ours is a road show. At the end of every few nights, we find a new sleeping spot. Some are better than others, but don't even think about hanging your hat and calling any place home. Appleblossom wonders what that means because they don't wear hats, although she would really like to. Now that they are out of the pouch, they travel on their mother's back whenever they relocate. All 13 of them, and this always happens when the sun goes down. Mama Possum has rules, but one is more important than all the others put together. This one rule cannot be broken, ever. It is called bedtime. Nothing matters more than following her exact instructions when Mama Possum says that it's time to burrow under a log or squeeze into a drain pipe or slide under a seldom used barbecue. When the sun starts to change the color of the dark sky to something close to a ripe plum, they know they need to disappear. Bodies safely hidden, then wide eyes shut. All the nocturnal animals do the same thing. They vanish from view. The raccoons return to the hills. The bats find hollow trees and rocks. The skunks slip away like magicians. The beetles and moths simply stop moving. Mama Possum's knowledge has been passed down from possum to possum. Now it's her turn to be the teacher. Darkness fully falls and her babies awake again. Huddle in a circle. Her brood is 3 months old when she reveals her most important information. We are awake only at night because when the sun's out, monsters rule the world. Amlet was the last one to stop sucking his thumb, and now he can't help himself. He puts his whole hand in his mouth, but not before saying monsters. Mama Possum tries to make her voice sound comforting, even though what she says isn't. Yes, now there are 3 kinds of monsters, and all 3 kinds are terrifying. They are present at night, but they really own the day. Appleblossam's brothers and sisters move closer to one another as Mama Possum continues. The first kind of monster is made of metal. They have wheels and bright eyes when they are out after dark. These eyes are blinding. Antonio interrupts. We've heard of metal monsters before. They are loud. Mama Possum nods. Yes, Antonio, the metal monsters roar and honk, and they move very, very fast. They can flatten an animal in an instant if one gets in the way. Appleblossom can't even think about something so frightening. She tries to close her ears, but it isn't like closing her eyes. She can still hear her mother's voice. The metal monsters are called cars and trucks. The ones that live around here only go on certain paths. Some of these paths, ones far from here, are so wide and so filled with cars and trucks that at night they look like ribbons of white and red light. Only a fool would ever go near those huge metal monster paths. Only a fool. Or someone with no other option. Appleblossom promises herself to always stay away from the wide monster paths. Antonio makes a comment. But the cars sleep. And then they are harmless as boulders. You've taken us near a car when its chest is cold and its eyes were dark. Mama Possum rubs her hands together. Yes, this is part of what you must learn. When a car is awake and when it is asleep. Appleblossom raises her hand. So what we need to know is what wakes them up. It takes Mama Possum a long time to answer. Her nose twitches and then she finally says, the second kind of monster has formed an alliance with the cars and trucks. So our understanding of both enemies is important. The monsters work together. The second monster wakes up the first. Amlet follows with, what's the second kind of monster? Appleblossom asks, what's an alliance? Mama Possum studies herself. Now is as good a time as ever to spill the beans. Alan looks around. What beans? Amlet gives him a small kick. It's a saying, Alan. It means she's telling us the whole story. Alan looks disappointed. Oh, I like beans, especially the dark ones that have spicy sauce. Suddenly, Appleblossom is very, very frightened. Mama Possum wraps her long tail around Appleblossom and pulls her close. The second category of scary creatures walks on 2 feet. They smell like dead flowers, salt, and grease. Everything scares them. They are always hungry. and they don't have tails. Not having tails seems very sad to the babies. Angie shakes her head. She is dramatic and is acknowledged now that being the best performer of the group. She strikes her signature pose, which is a hand to her forehead as she wails, "An animal without a tail is so sad." At her side, Alicia adds, "Maybe that's why they are angry." Whispers of "so sad" and "angry" buzz throughout the group. Mama Possum waits until they've quieted down and then continues. The second monsters are called people. The people cover themselves in layers of cloth because they have very little fur. They scream when they see a night creature. They are noisy and unpredictable. They are dangerous and not very smart. Believe me. All of the possum babies stare at their mother. It's clear they do believe her. Now, the people don't like to share. That is their biggest problem. So they set traps and they use weapons and poison. They are sneaky and mean. But the good part is that most of the time, they don't climb trees at night or go into hedges or dig holes. Sighs of relief come from the babies, and they are big sighs. Mama Possum adds, "The people are awake for part of the night, but they go into their houses and stare at the boxes." Appleblossom is confused. "What kind of boxes?" Mama Possum's eyes narrow. "The boxes have light and sound, and the people watch these contraptions for hours. Some of the light boxes hang on the walls of the houses, some are just off the ground, and others are held right in their hands." Antonio waves his tail. "I think the light boxes might be telling the monsters what to do." Mama Possum looks as if she's giving this idea some thought. But the discussion is over, and no one objects when she says, "We've had enough for one night." Appleblossom can't fall asleep after her mother's big talk. The world's a scary place, and she needs to learn so much to stay safe. She isn't sure that she's up to the job. Her acting skills aren't as advanced as her brothers and sisters. She doesn't have any special talents like dancing or singing or speaking with an accent. She's good at smelling night blooming jasmine and watching the bats swirl in the dark sky as they circle the streetlight. She's good at observing the world. Does that count? In a distance, the sun edges over the treetops and Appleblossom feels her tail tremble. Her whole family is hidden in the mildewy umbrella that's on its side in the garden, not far from where she is now. That's on the side in the garden, not far from where she is now, realizes people live. At a distance, on one of the paths is a car, isn't moving, but that doesn't make her feel any better. Appleblossom squeezes her eyes shut and she tries to make the bad thoughts go away when Antonio whispers, "Appleblossom, I'm awake." Appleblossom whispers back, "I'm afraid." "Me too," he says. A few moments later, another voice says, "I'm not afraid, but I can't sleep either," says Amlet. Appleblossom wonders if he's just acting brave right now or if he's being truthful. He's a very good actor. Appleblossom doesn't want to cry. She might wake everyone up, or worse, she might wake up the monster. "So what do we do?" she asks. Antonio whispers back, "We watch out for each other. I keep my eye on you two, and you do the same." Appleblossom's mouth wobbles into a small smile. "We could snuggle closer." Amlet pushes his way between Antonio and Appleblossom. "Good idea. You two can be on the lookouts. I'll handle the middle." Appleblossom and Antonio are quiet, but they feel better. And before they know it, all three possums are sound asleep. Chapter 5, page 31, boys and girls. Several nights pass before Mama Possum decides it's time for more training. While her 13 little ones chew on a special snack, an 8-inch long, slimy, salty, yellow-green slug. Ooh. She gets down to the business. Tonight we learn about the last kind of monster. The worst kind of monster. Our greatest enemy. Appleblossom stops eating. What could be worse than people and cars and trucks? Mama says. A group known as the Harrys. The little possum erupt into an explosion of overlapping voices. The Harrys, the Scaries, or the Maraschino cherries? Antonio is the one who brought up the cherries. No one else has any idea what he is talking about. Mama waits until they quiet down and then explains. There are many types of Harrys. Appleblossom looks at her brothers and sisters. Are we Harrys? Mama's eyes get wide. We are marsupials that have hair. That's very different. She exhales and continues. Cats are single categories of hairies, but I'm not going to bother with them because you are big enough now to fend them off. The hairies that can ruin our lives are known as dogs. The baby possum observed the word dog. It does have a hard sound to it. Mama continues. These creatures are sworn enemy of all possums, big and small. Young and old, weak and strong. Dogs are covered in fur, they have tails and can dig. They can move 4 feet, and they have sharp teeth, and they can use them. And unlike people, these monsters are not filled with fear. Dogs are highly unpredictable and can appear in the daytime or night. In a single lunge, a dog can rip off your head. That's the kind of threat they are. Amlin and Angie and Alberta and Ajax and Abdul and Alan and Alphonse and Atticus and Alejandro and Alicia and Augusta and Antonio and Appleblossom hook tails. This is very bad news. Antonio speaks for the group. Do dogs make noise? Do we hear them coming? Mama Possum looks relieved. Yes, Antonio, dogs bark, but you can't count on that to warn you. She points to the house in the distance. There is some good news, though. Dogs are very needy and don't live by themselves. They have relationships with people, but not all people have dogs. You must learn which houses have dogs. You must avoid those places. Appleblossom feels a little bit better. She can tell that Antonio and Amlet do too. Most of the others bounce back completely. Eliando hooks his arm through Augustus, and they twirl around. Augustus squeals, "We find the people without the dogs. We stay away from the cars and the trucks, and then the show can begin." Mama Possum puts a stop to the dancing. No, it's not that simple. Dogs are the worst of the worst. They keep a possum from drifting off to sleep as the sun comes up, because behind every closed gate, the dog could be waiting. Appleblossam's voice isn't much more than a whisper. So what do we do? For the first time, Mama Possum smiles. We die. The possum exchange looks. What is she talking about? Mama continues. Dogs like live things, much, 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 much more than dead things. Alphonse raises his tail. I don't understand. Are you saying we don't put up a fight? Mama Possum lowers her voice. They all lean in. That's right. We don't fight. We do not run. Dogs are always bigger, faster, and stronger than we are. But as I was saying, if they see a dead thing, they stop. They investigate, but with caution. They do not like dead things. Appleblossom's voice is small. Why? We eat dead things. Mama sighs. We can't compare ourselves to them. We are higher life form. People feed dogs. It's part of their evil alliance. And there are people and dogs who kill for sports. All of the baby possums start talking at once. Who kills for sports? They're monsters, all right. They are the most awful of the awful. Mama Possum quiets him down by waving her arms in the air. Now you see why I ask you over and over again to learn to act. This is how we trick them. We act dead, but we aren't really dead. It's an art form. It must look real. Amlet's chest puffs out and he bellows in a loud, showy voice. To be or not to be, that is the question. Mama Possum smiles again. Yes, Amlet, well done. Appleblossom looks down at her feet. She doesn't practice acting as much as she should, but Mama Possum is reassuring. Don't worry, little ones. Part of our fake dying is out of our control. In the event of a true crisis, instinct takes over and we look stricken because we are stricken. Antonio adds, so fear makes you feel like you really are having a heart attack. Mama Possum explains, when something really truly scares us, all kinds of things happen. Our lungs slow down, our arms and legs go limp, and then they turn stiff. Our eyes fall shut, and for some of us, our tongues roll out and spit starts bubbling at the corners of our mouth. A smile spreads across Mama Possum's face. There are more good news to share. The final touch is a smell. Dead things stink. That's just a fact. And to add to the illusion of death, we possums can release a gas, a real stink bomb. The possums get giggly as relief washes over them like a warm dip in a backyard bird bath. Mama Possum adds, the stink gas is one of our most important gifts. It tricks dogs and people into thinking we are yesterday's news. Dead is dead. Only in our case, dead isn't dead. Dead is the only way to stay alive. Mama Possum raises her arms wide and high and spreads her fingers. So you see, my beautiful babies, we are the true performers of the animal kingdom. We are the stars. Boys and girls, I hope you've enjoyed these chapters. Tomorrow we will start with chapter 6. Have a great day.